But from your perspective, I mean, I'm keen to hear what others' thoughts are on this. Do we feel Agile has become commoditized?
Yes, and to the point where it's almost impossible to know which are the ones that are actually going to teach you what's really important, and what, that it's, as everybody's saying sort of on the chat, they look good on a CV, recruiters look for them, but there's so many different qualifications out there that even selecting the right one, or the one that's going to have not just the most value, like in terms of how good it makes your CV look because it's from a reputable company, but also in terms of which course is actually going to teach you or help you to solidify your kind of your foundation of knowledge, so that you can actually become a better Scrum Master, coach, practitioner, etc. And it's almost sort of like death by choice.
Yeah, very true. Any other thoughts there?
The first company actually, sorry,
go ahead.
Go on. The first company actually implemented Agile. I didn't have any certification. I just took a book, learned from it, and implemented everything. But afterwards, when I tried to find jobs, they asked me for a certification. Then I started to do the PSM. Then I went to do the CFSM and RTE, and now I got my SPC also. And I said, let's stop now. No more.
I have a bit different opinion on the certifications. I'll just take 1 minute on that. There are people who just start working on these roles without taking the basic education or knowledge, and they try to figure this out through their own experience and through their own analysis. I think that goes wrong in some way. So the basic education of Scrum, be it CSM or PSM, through a particular good trainer is needed, instead of just trying to do some trials and errors. The other certifications can definitely wait, but if somebody is really trying for a Scrum Master or the very product owner, especially product owner, I think these certifications are important for their knowledge, because I don't see many product owners certifying themselves. They're just assuming they know it. At least in my experience, I've seen that.
So yeah, Dan Hogg said in the chat, he's personally seen no correlation between number of qualifications and competence of Scrum Masters, but that could just be luck. Now, I guess I would challenge what was said just a moment ago. Myself, I did not take my first qualification in Agile until 2015. Prior to then, I've been working for years in Agile ways of working, acting as a Scrum Master. And whilst I could have been better, I could have learned faster, if I had the guidance of someone more experienced and taken a formal certification. At the same time, learning by doing and in the workflow is, in my experience, a far more effective method of learning a new concept. There's a quote, and I think it's attributed to Confucius, which talks about the fact that if you tell someone something, they might remember it. If you show them something, again, it might be picked up. But if you involve them in it, they'll remember it far quicker. And that's not a direct translation here. But if you are learning in the workflow, and this is one of the reasons why I love Agile games as a teaching method to contextualize a real life scenario, learning from the trenches, as Sunny's just said. I've got a whole series of videos on my YouTube about tales from the trenches, real life Agile coaching experiences. For me, learning in that way is far more powerful than sitting in front of someone who then tells you how to do it. That doesn't mean that the alternative doesn't work for some people. I think a lot of people learn in different ways. Just in my experience, people have been far more successful learning in the workflow. And I've created, alongside some other Agile practitioners, a learning manifesto. It's a series of statements that talks about how to teach people concepts that focuses on learning on in the workflow, rather than just passive exposure to slide decks and things like that.
I think the critical thing is what you pointed out, is people learn by different ways. Someone who's severely dyslexic is not going to be able to sit down and read 3 or 4 books, and get through them in any real time. It's much easier for them to sit in the classroom. So there's it's different things. I think the worst thing though that could happen is the person who goes, it's agile. Okay. You know, on an airplane, I read an article in the news mag in the airplane magazine, and now I'm an agile expert based on what I know and try to implement that way. Who doesn't experiment, just assumes that they could figure it all out and from their own head. I think, you know, the person who said, you know, that's where you need the classroom thing. I think that's particularly what she's talking to, is that type of mentality. But that person's going to have a problem no matter what they do. If they just read one book and assume now they're an expert on everything and they're only going to work out of their understanding out of that one book, you know, they're going to do things poorly and badly for people. So, yeah.
I completely
There's
agree.
an advantage, but they're overrated, right?
Yeah.
Not the end all be all.
I completely agree. And this is one of the reasons I started this whole talk by saying, to me, true knowledge is knowing you know nothing. The more I learn, the more I realize I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
It's this huge chasm of knowledge out there. There is so much information from so many different collective minds. I can't possibly know it all. And whilst I believe I'm very proficient in what I do, and I believe I've got a good voice, I can equally teach people and share ideas and be creative. I don't consider myself an expert. Although I see the irony in me speaking at a group called Expert Agile Club.